I guess after, was it like maybe a month and a half, got the call, hey, let's go back and rehearse, do something, and maybe see if we can come up with some songs. And as usual, Michael already had a couple of ideas, and we tried some of the ideas out. And before we knew it, we were in the rehearsal room twice a week and coming up with new songs.
Michael started coming with riffs, actually whole songs. And within, I think, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, the whole album was written. It's like when Michael goes into that writing mode, it really goes very fast.
And it was done quite quickly. I think I wrote all the material in a couple of months, and it felt good. It was a lot of fun, and I think we only used 13 days in the studio to record it, because that was basically also the idea, going into the Jacob Hansen studio and said, you know what, let's just imagine that we're young dudes who brought our pocket money from our parents. This is what we got. Can we make a record? And Jacob would say, yeah, you have 13 days. So it was, let's not take that many takes, let maybe just take a few, 1 or 2, not more than 3 takes of whatever we were playing. And that's how we did it, pretty much with everything. So it's pretty much, I will not call it a live album because it has been recorded in the studio, but I always liked the idea that, when we go out and play live, when you're on stage, you only have one chance, and that's the kind of the energy we went into the studio with. So there will be songs where people definitely can hear, wow, this is actually sounding like when I discovered Volbeat.
When he started coming up with ideas and small bits and pieces for songs, some of it definitely dated back almost to our beginning, actually.
And what you can say, what we're doing on this record is pretty much going full circle again. It's kind of, we're back to where we started, and then when we are going to half of the circle, that's where I said that the brain takes over with all the structure and how people know some of our more the later releases. So it's a good combination of everything we've done, but that's for the first time I actually feel that that's something where we could actually manage to throw everything from structure and rules and everything on the floor and just shoot straight from the hip.
For me, it kind of melted together. So you have what you would call perhaps a little bit of a throwback to some of the earlier stuff, but it still has the connection to some of the later stuff, which might be a little more melodic, a little more with the big hooks and everything. So yeah, you can kind of say it's almost like a greatest hits type of thing.
But now when I listen to it, I'm really proud of it, and I can hear it's that as a whole, I think it captures everything about Volbeat. There's some hard, thrashy riffs now and then, and also a little bit of almost rockabilly feeling. So I think it covers everything that we are, and a little bit new, like every album. There's a little bit of a new direction.
So it was like trying to step into the Volbeat bubble after have written the death metal album with As in Hell and being on tour with As in Hell. It was like, what is going to happen? Can I jump into the Volbeat bubble again and be inspired writing these songs that are so much different than what I'm doing in As in Hell. And something interesting and funny happened, because what I was doing in As in Hell was pretty much, that's the reason why it's old school death metal. It's when I wrote that album, I kind of went back in time when I was writing death metal, when I was 15, 16 years old, where I have no idea what structure was, what is a chorus, what is a bridge, and all those stupid rules that can be in music. In back in the days, it was just about the riffing and then put some growling on top of it. And there was something great innocence about that, not having all those rules and all that structure. So when I came to the rehearsal room, I told the other guys, listen to this one. And I was just trying to see how they were reacting. I got the reaction that I wanted from Casper saying, where's the chorus? Exactly, there is no chorus. And see, this is just really about the riffing and the mood in the song. We had a lot of fun doing that. When we were done rehearsing that song, we kind of looked at each other and said, this is actually really interesting to leave the structure and rules somewhere out there in the trash can and just let's have some fun and kind of see if we can continue having that innocent mind of a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid trying to write music. You can do that until the brain of experience takes over, where you actually know what you're doing and you start thinking about, should probably have a bridge here or a hook or a chorus. But I can say the first half of the song, the album, the first 5 songs were pretty much written like that.
But some of the previous albums that we had like, 15 or 16 songs. And they were good for what it was, but one of the ideas this time was actually, let's just cut it down. 10 songs, and that's it. And then focus on those 10 songs and make them real good. That was one of the ideas for this one as well. But yeah, it is kind of a little bit of a punk rock thing. We tried the other way around, what you kept doing, take after take after take. And after you've done, 15 run-through of the same song, your energy is it's dead, And so we figured out that's not going to work for us. One of the other things this time, because we said to Jacob, we want to keep it a bit more organic this time, cut off a lot of, let's say, the drum samples and all that stuff. Let's keep it like, again, perhaps a bit more punk rock, so that not for instance, every snare hit will be equally hard. One might be harder and one might be a little less hard, Keep it a bit more organic. Yeah, so it actually, no offense to anybody, but it sounds like a band is playing. I know that when Michael sits at home and do whatever he does, there's a lot of stuff that me and Casper are never going to hear, because Michael always had a clear vision of what he wanted, how he wanted it to sound. So there's a lot of stuff that we never get to hear. And we used to have this kind of thumb rule that when we rehearsed something one day, if we couldn't remember it the next time we met up, then it wasn't good enough. And that's, I guess, one of the reasons why it keeps having this thing that it has. Because if we can't remember it, then probably nobody else is going to remember it anyway. And it kind of keeps it fresh and a little bit spontaneous here and there. But of course, once we are about to enter the studio, we spend a lot of time rehearsing the songs that we are going to record. It's not like we have, let's say, 20 songs and record 10 songs. Or we'll record 20 songs and then pick the best 10 songs. If we have like 10 songs to record, then we record 10 songs basically. And we have kind of always done that. But there's not, we don't really have what you want to call a vault filled with demos and outtakes and all that stuff. We don't really have anything of that. I think there might be 1 or perhaps 2 bits and pieces, but that's it, And for this album, Michael said, let's try and just make 10 songs, record 10 songs. So we came up with 10 songs and went into the studio and recorded those 10 songs. And again, once we are in the studio, because we have worked with Jacob for so many years and he knows us so well, he said a long time ago, he said, the thing about you guys if you don't get it within the first, let's say, 3 takes, then we skip it and go to another song. He said, you guys are definitely at your best in the studio if we can get it within 3 takes, especially drum-wise. You can always cut back and forth with guitars. It's a little more different with drums. You can do it, but it's slightly more difficult. So we spend a lot of time rehearsing up until we go in the studio. So I would say 99% we are aware of what we're going to do. So there's no mistakes, if you want to put it like that, once we enter the studio and you kind of play something and they go, what is that? We know what we have to do. Obviously, and it happens, there are a few smaller things that might be changed in the studio where it is a rhythm or maybe a guitar sound or something like that. But we are really well prepared when we go in the studio. And it also keeps it fresh if you can do it, within 3 takes and then work it from there.
He knows us for back in the days, even before Volbeat was in existence. So he's kind of a fifth member of the band. He knows what everybody's strong sides are and our weakness and everything. And it's all about keeping it loose. He also knows where he needs to push us. And so there's a great camaraderie. There's a great understanding about the band from Jacob's side, and we trust him. That's the most important thing when you're in the studio, that you trust the producer, and at the same time, even though that it is work and it's serious, it has to be fun, because you can hear in the recordings if it's not fun. And I believe we had a lot of fun on this record, and a lot of the lyrics, it's definitely going to show that. Some of the riffing, the ideas that comes up, definitely shows that there was a lot of fun and a lot of great, inspiring moments from legendary bands.
I guess you can call it magic, but this actually dates back from when we started. I've told this story many times, but I can tell it again. When me and Michael hooked up way back then, he played me a riff and he said, add some drums to this thing. And I was like, okay, I did. And that to me sounded like a Black Sabbath type of songs, like Children of the Grave, something like that, in that vein. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Next thing he played for me was more like, punkish, Offspring, Green Day, Misfits type of song. And I was like, okay, sure. And the third thing that he had was more in the vein of Metallica. So I said, okay, interesting. All 3 elements are pretty interesting, but what do you want to do? Do you want to do one of them? And he said, no, I don't care. I'm going to blend everything. Let's just blend everything. Everything that we grew up with, everything we listen to. Don't think about it, just do it. And it's kind of like still that today. We don't really think about it and say, oh yeah, we got to do, a country type of song, or we have to do a Manic Street Preachers type of song, or a Metallica type of songs. It's all, whatever comes in the room happens. And if it's ended up sounding a bit like Metallica, great. If it sounds a bit like Social Distortion, great. We never really cared about that. We just play basically what we want to play. And if it's all going to be mixed up in some weird thing, great.